A cure for cancer has long been medicine's holy grail. It's far too soon to claim that achievement, but a new drug that's being trialled for melanoma has the medical community buzzing with excitement. It appears to be the most important breakthrough in decades. At a conference in Chicago this week, a drug company released the results of trials showing enormous success in reversing the size of tumours in patients with metastatic melanoma, and it could have implications for other forms of cancer too. One of the people at the conference is Rick Kefford, a professor of medicine at Sydney's Westmead Hospital. He joined me from Chicago earlier. Professor Kefford, what exactly has this melanoma study and drug trial revealed?
There are two drugs that have been, for which important trials have been announced at this ASCO meeting, and one of them's called nivolumab and the other's called lambrolizumab. They don't exactly roll off the tongue, but they're both what we call monoclonal antibodies, and they really work in a truly remarkable way that many of us would never have thought possible. What they're doing is actually releasing the body's own immune system from what is a suppressive effect that the tumour has had on it. So it seems that in order for cancers to grow, they have a very tricky way of dampening down the immune system. But what's extraordinary is that the immune system is actually alive and apparently well and sitting there just waiting for that brake to be taken off. And when it is taken off, which these drugs do, it immediately goes to work and kills the cancer cells, and does it in a way that has very few effects on normal tissues. So the side effect profile is very minimal.
So just how well do these drugs work? What is the success rate? And is it actually a cure for melanoma?
So melanoma has been one of the test cases because it's relatively resistant to other forms of treatment, and it's been, if you like, a relatively easy cancer to study with these new drugs. And in that cancer, what we've seen at this meeting is that a third to a half of patients get major benefit from these treatments. And extraordinarily, with one of the drugs, nivolumab, which has been around a little bit longer than the other one, we've seen that nearly a half of patients have their responses sustained at 2 years, which for this disease is really quite extraordinary. A cure, look, maybe not, but a major step forward.
If you're suffering from melanoma right now, is this drug going to be of any use to you?
One of the problems is these drugs are still in the early phases of clinical development, so they're not yet approved by the regulatory authorities. They still have to go through further steps in clinical testing to reach that point where everyone can have access. But, they're showing such extraordinary promise that they raise, enormous hopes for people out there who have this disease.
Will these drugs apply to other types of cancer?
Yeah, so that's what's so exciting, really, because they're showing activity against other cancers that have been pretty resistant to other forms of treatment, like lung cancer, for example. Also, early signs of it working on head and neck cancer, on bowel cancer, on what we call triple-negative breast cancer, which is a disease that's relatively resistant to other forms of treatment, prostate cancer, cancer of the kidney. So this is really a major step forward for human cancer.
We hear all the time about medical breakthroughs, and they're often overhyped and they give people false hope. Is this really a breakthrough?
Look, I'd be the last person to do that. I've been in this field for 30 years, and it takes quite a lot to impress my colleagues and me, but I can assure you that at the absolutely packed auditoria here in Chicago this week, that there were wide open mouths, wide open eyes, and people have frankly been talking about nothing else. This is not a flash in the pan. This is not a false hope. This is not a false step forward. This is really a major step forward, and it's going to be of great benefit to lots of people with this disease.
How often in your career have you seen data like this from a study?
Look, I haven't, and my colleagues and I are all equally, impressed with that. We can't remember a group of drugs that have had this sort of impact on the oncology community.
What happens next with these drugs?
So both drugs are now entering rapidly into what we call phase 3 clinical trial, where they're compared carefully with existing forms of treatment to demonstrate, absolutely to the Food and Drug Administration that they're definitely superior to existing forms of treatment. It's almost a pity that we have to go through that step with drugs that so clearly demonstrate activity, but they're the rules, and that's the way and the only path by which drugs are approved for taking forward into marketing and free availability. So we have to go through those steps. That will take about another year to 18 months, and then hopefully they'll be much more widely available.
Professor Kefford, thanks for talking us through that.
Thank you.